USPAP Page 104 Advisory Opinion 1833 Appraiser should take steps to ensure that communication of the AVM's output is not misconstrued as an appraisal or 34 Appraisal Review Report. For example, the appraiser should 3536 37 38 39 40 1 not communicate his or her opinions or conclusions as an appraiser regarding the credibility USPAP Page 104 Advisory Opinion 1833 Appraiser should take steps to ensure that communication of the AVM's output is not misconstrued as an appraisal or 34 Appraisal Review Report. For example, the appraiser should 3536 37 38 39 40 1 not communicate his or her opinions or conclusions as an appraiser regarding the credibility or reliability of the AVM's output. 2. Not provide an appraiser's certification or statement of limiting conditions in connection with the AVM's output, and ensure that his or her role as only an AVM operator is clearly indicated if his or her signature or other 3. Identification marks appear on documents used to communicate the AVM's output. 41. Analyzing an AVM's effectiveness. 42. An appraiser bound by law, regulation, or an agreement to comply with USPAP may be asked to analyze and 43. Comment on the effectiveness of an AVM for a stated intended use. Such a request involves an aspect of value and 44. Thereby this would be an appraisal practice service, but one for which USPAP has no specific performance standards. 45. In order to accept such an assignment, an appraiser bound to comply with USPAP must ensure compliance with the 46 Ethics Rule, the Competency Rule, and the Jurisdictional Exception Rule. To meet the Competency 147 rule, at a minimum, the appraiser should also have a basic understanding of how the AVM works. 48. Review of the output of an AVM. 49. An appraiser bound by law, regulation, or an agreement to comply with USPAP may be asked if the output of an AVM. 50. Is credible for a specific property, given the intended use of the AVM's output. Such a request involves an aspect of 51 value and thereby making this determination as an appraisal practice service, but one for which USPAP has no specific 52 performance standards. The appraiser must ensure compliance with the Ethics Rule, the Competency Rule, and 53. The Jurisdictional Exception Rule. 54. Review of an appraisal report containing output of an AVM. 555657. An appraiser may be asked to review an appraisal report that includes an opinion of value based on the output of an AVM. This is an appraisal review assignment under USPAP which must follow the requirements of Standards 3 and 4. This kind of appraisal review assignment may be accepted if the appraiser performing the review understands how the AVM works and can form an opinion as to the adequacy and relevancy of the data and the appropriateness of the 9 analysis, based on the information provided in the report under review. 0. Use of an AVM in an appraisal review assignment. 1. An AVM may be used in the process of reviewing a real property appraisal report. The appraisal reviewer may use the 2 AVM to test the reasonableness of the value conclusion in the report under review if the appraisal reviewer has a basic 3 understanding of how the AVM works, can use the AVM properly, determines that use of the AVM is appropriate for the appraisal review assignment, and believes the AVM output is credible and sufficient for the appraisal review assignment. 5. Illustrations. 1. A staff appraiser D, who has access to market databases, is asked to use an AVM to process information. When appraiser D runs the AVM, she has done no other appraisal research. Appraiser D does not apply any of her appraisal knowledge or judgment in operating the AVM. Appraiser D has entered only property characteristics provided by the client and does not know how the AVM analyzes the data. Is the AVM output an appraisal? No. The AVM output by itself is not an appraisal. Appraiser D did not apply her appraisal knowledge, judgment, or expertise, nor did she represent that the output was her own opinion of value. Appraiser D must be very careful in communicating the AVM output to ensure that there is no misunderstanding as to her role in operating the AVM or communicating its output. For example, Appraiser D should 1. Not communicate her opinions or conclusions as an appraiser regarding the credibility or reliability of the AVM's output. 2. Not provide an appraiser's certification or statement of limiting conditions in connection with the AVM's output. And ensure that her role as only an AVM operator is clearly indicated if her signature or other identification mark appears on documents used to communicate the AVM's output. 3. 104.